Hi, welcome back to another video. If you're here for my Instagram, welcome. This video is gonna be a bit of a story time, anecdotal, not coachy, but coachy wisdom sharing type of video. And I'm gonna be telling you a personal story, and I'm hoping that this will help increase the discernment of my fellow human beings who are out in the world existing, looking for connection that is mutually respectful, compatible, harmonious, safe, and not emotionally manipulative or narcissistic or sticky, icky, stuff like that. So, I'm actually going to film my Instagram reel after I make this video, and I want to kind of get my gears turning in this video to just get the message out. But basically, I'm going to jump right into it. So first I'm going to tell you this story, and then I'm going to kind of share the wisdom from it in hopes to give you this example that you can tangibly hold on to kind of use to compare to your own experiences currently so that you can become more discerning and more aware of, what situations or people or relationships might have covert, manipulative kind of patterns or things going on. I've survived narcissistic abuse and have had a lot of experience dealing with and healing from emotional manipulation and remembering my sovereignty, reclaiming my power from lots of psychological and emotional abuse. So I'm telling these stories to support those who need it. So anyway, let's get into the story. So once upon a time, I was in an early relationship with somebody. And these stories, by the way, are not meant to shame anybody or slander anyone. I'm just telling them anonymously, respecting their privacy, again, to empower other people. So, the intention is to protect and empower other people who are dealing with similar manipulative situations. So I was in a relationship with someone, and it was new. It was only a few months old, maybe like 2 at the time. And it was long distance, so I hadn't met this person physically, but we had a lot of mutual friends. So that was how I vetted this person. They were legit and whatnot. We had actual people that we both physically knew in common for a couple years. So it was the first couple days within meeting this person. I was in their kitchen, and they were telling me a story about a friend who was very close to them, and all of a sudden they just ghosted them and they just left. And this person was kind of crying while they were telling it to me, and it pulled on my heartstrings, and I was like, that's painful. But there was a missing piece because it made no sense to me. Why did this person that was supposedly so compatible with you and so perfectly fitting into your life one day just stop talking to you? That was always a missing piece in my mind. It didn't make any sense, because people only ever leave situations if there's some kind of pain or something that's going on, or conflict that's not resolvable, or something that they can't tell you, so they need to leave. Maybe some other reasons. And I know this person didn't get injured, nothing bad happened to this person as far as I know, so they left for no reason, right? And I, comforted my guy and was sympathizing and just hearing the story, and didn't really fully register the fact that, what I just said to you guys, like, people don't just disappear for no reason. It's like, when you stop talking to someone, whether you're aware of it or not, there's a reason. And, frankly, not everyone is really in tune with themselves and with their motivations for why they say what they say, why they do what they do. And if that's you, then maybe this is a, sign to get on that a little bit and get in tune with your motivations and your purpose for why you're talking to certain people. If you feel off about it, if you feel weird, or if something feels misaligned for you, do you even know why you're doing this? And what you find might surprise you. So, yeah, and I think being grounded in your own authority and in your purpose can bring you a lot of peace and can save a lot of trouble and a lot of heartbreak in the long run. So anyway, he told me this story and I was like, I love you. I'm sorry to hear. And you know what? At the end of the day, it does suck when people just leave for no reason. And I'm sure that was a painful experience. And fast forward, we spend a few months too long together, me and this person. In hindsight, I'm like, he was not attuned to me, and he was very disrespectful towards me at times. There were a few moments where he did not treat me like a girlfriend. He treated me like an acquaintance. I felt reduced in that connection in multiple different ways, which I can get into in maybe a different video. So yeah, there was some maybe like covert narcissistic tendencies, and I don't throw that term around loosely whatsoever because I'm a survivor of narcissistic abuse, but there was a lot of like parallels and patterns. Like I felt disrespected and, my trust was like violated in very, very vulnerable moments that I can recall, like being physically intimate and being emotionally vulnerable, things like that, like feeling like my trust is just stabbed a little bit in those moments. And as we grow in discernment, right? And so sometimes we find ourselves in situations where in hindsight, we're like, why was I ever there for so long in the first place? But then we realize, okay, well, I wasn't embodying what I know now. So, forgive yourself. And this is not to shame anyone for being where you are. And this is not to bring shame onto myself, because I was learning and I came from where I came from. And even for this person too, I'm not like saying I accept that their behavior. But I do think that, we all have our insufficiencies, our fallacies, our weaknesses, our vulnerabilities. And so just emphasizing this is not to bring shame, or to pit people against people. I don't want you to watch this video and think, oh, you're validating why this person hurt me, so I'm gonna like blow up this fight against them in my mind, and I'm gonna think terrible things about them and slander them behind their back and use that as an excuse to hate them even more. It's like, you can have your hurt and you can process your thing, but I don't want to encourage fighting. I want to encourage awareness and empowerment and sovereignty and inner alignment so that you can remember who you are and take that with you wherever you go. And it doesn't matter who's doing what or who's saying what, because fuck them anyway. You're not going to go back to them and try to prove your greatness to them and change them or whatever. It's like, no, you learned and you're going to move on and you're going to find better and do better and create the kind of life that you can exhale into, So anyway, fast forward. This was in, I want to say like 2023. This was in 2023 in like the fourth quarter, late third quarter of 2023. And so it was like fall time around then, late summer and like, yeah, into fall. Yeah, that's like when this was happening, when this relationship was happening. So we broke up and I was like, shut the door, blocked. I think we talked once and I was like, oh, you are not capable of having a conversation with me without trying to manipulate me, so I'm going to just shut the door and you're blocked, and that's that. And we never spoke again. And my life is better for it. Wishing them well. Anyway, so fast forward, I'm standing in my room tonight and I'm listening to some inspirational videos. Like today is Christmas, by the way, 2025. And yeah, I was just standing there doing laundry and listening to these inspirational videos of people's like testimonies of growth and faith and all that stuff because I like listening to things like that. And out of the blue, out of the blue, I don't even know where it came from, but I just had this flashback of standing in his kitchen and him telling me that story of the time that his friend left him out of the blue after years of being super close. And something in me, a light bulb turned on that I hadn't processed or realized before. It was just like, it just kind of downloaded into me. And I was like, oh, that's a really important discernment point. And I want to talk about that and raise people's awareness if they're in similar situations. So what happened when I was standing there in my room doing laundry was that I remembered and I realized, I was like, that is a potential red flag. That the fact that if you had someone you were so close to and without reason, without explanation, they disappear. I mean, either that's a reflection of them or it could be a reflection of another pattern. And this is where, you know, you need to be super discerning and trusting your intuition. And I feel a little uncertain saying this out loud, but, you know, I'm just going to do my best to just tell it like it is and tell the truth. But I had this realization and I literally thought to myself, and I could be wrong, but I thought to myself, I was like, no wonder this person stopped talking to you out of the blue after the way you treated me and after the way that you treated our mutual friends. No wonder they couldn't tell you why they were going. No wonder you feel in the dark about why they left, because every time I tried to bring up an issue with you, you would either deflect or avoid it or turn it back on me, or just something. So that was like one thing. It was like all this information, all the stuff that I learned about this person, and why it was not possible to have a harmonious relationship with him. It just reflected into this instance. Another thing too was that he basically, this was literally within the first few days of physically meeting this person, and he told me this, you know, sob story, which, yeah, it's tender, it's sad, it's like legitimately painful to have a friendship breakup. But when you talk about something, when people tell stories about relationship breakups or failures without self-reflecting or without taking any responsibility for any part that they may have had, that could possibly be a red flag. And even if the person did no wrong, you know, where's the self-reflection? What is the purpose of them telling the story? Are they telling the story just to hook you and make you sympathize with them and like emotionally manipulate you to pull them on your team? And I'm not saying that this was my ex's intentions. I'm not saying that, but it had my mind thinking, and I was like, oh, that's actually really important to pay attention to if you're dating someone. And I think that's where I was like, oh, I'm not sure how to even tell this story, but I'm like, now I have the clarity. I'm not trying to accuse him of any of these things, but the thoughts, I couldn't help but notice those thoughts crossing my mind. What if he was subconsciously, unconsciously, emotionally manipulating me and trying to get me to feel bad for him? But that's also not necessarily true, because in relationships, we do share sad stories and we do expect people to validate us and comfort us, because that's part of connection. That's part of being vulnerable. I think you should expect in a healthy relationship someone to respond with compassion and care when you share with them an important, painful story about what you went through. So that's that. That's like the benefit of the doubt, you know, light in the situation. But still, this story and this instance just made me think that you need to consider the possibility that certain people don't want you in their lives, very sadly, to take care of you and to respect you and to put you first, you know. but they want you there to make them feel better about their image of themselves. They want you there as a crutch or as a boost to their ego. And given the pattern of my relationship history with this person, those are some adjacent things, adjacent qualities that he kind of brought to a relationship. He made me feel put under the rug. I mean, he called me a friend in front of his coworkers one day. We went to the place he worked, and he referred to me in front of everyone as a friend, which was humiliating, not only because he had asked me to be his girlfriend that same week, but I had been in Israel and I left early. I flew across the world, and then I flew across the country after that. 3 days after that, I felt clear in my decision, and I was like, obviously way overgiving to this undeserving fool, but I was just like I felt like a kick. And I don't know why I stayed after that. Well, I do know why I stayed, is because I didn't know what being treated respectfully felt like, because I had really honestly never known it, because of my history of abuse, surviving abuse in my family system and outside of my family system and in the troubled teen institution and in previous relationships and previous friendships. It was just like, I've always been kicked by people who were supposed to love me and supposed to take care of me. And so, I just kept finding myself in situations that kind of mirrored that. But my awareness is, better. I'd say my self-respect is more realized now, especially after spending most of 2025 alone. I'm estranged from my family. I don't have any, except for one who came in this year more closely. I don't have any really close friends. I don't have community. It's been me and God this year. So I feel like, so a lot has changed, and I'm never going to find myself in, a situation like that again. And now my discernment and standards are like way higher than I ever even thought that they could be. So anyway, he would do things like that to me. And he, one time, I was, trigger warning, sex, I was in bed with him, and I did not feel connected with him. Emotionally, it was just missing, and I wasn't getting the type of attention or touch or, anything that I needed. It wasn't there. And it just wasn't intuitive at all. And there was a time when he literally, while I was like in bed, while I was in bed or some other time, he made a comment on the way that I acted in comparison to one of his exes that he was still friends with. And if you're watching this, like, girl, what the fuck were you doing? Why didn't you just pack up your bags and leave then? Again, this is that I know it's so frustrating in hindsight. Sometimes I think that to myself, and sometimes maybe I'll see other people in shitty situations and I'm like, why the fuck are you still sleeping on the fact that this person is shit? They are treating you like shit. And that's such a shitty thing to do to someone, to compare them to your ex when they're in bed with you. And he was still friends with this person. And I mean, there was even a time where he promised that he was going to call me, but he just flaked because he drove to the next city to spend the night with his ex and some friends. So, in hindsight, it's honestly a little embarrassing, but I'm sharing it because it's growth. It's growth. And I'm sharing it with you because I want to let you know that if you're in a similar situation, I was you at one point. I was in that kind of situation, but I just want you to be aware of some red flags that might, happen if you find yourself in a covertly manipulative situation, especially if you're a survivor of abuse like me and you're still open to love. Your heart is open. That's the beautiful thing about, I think, my experience in this is that it's a reflection of my, continual desire to devote myself and to love. And of course, it was very, very misplaced when I was with him. And now, I turn it to my dreams. I turn it to my life purpose. I turn it to, God as much as I can, even though that's easier said than done. These days, faith has been shaky for me. It's been hard, even though that's something I talk about in pretty much most of my videos. But anyway, yeah, I was standing in my bedroom tonight and I had this realization and I was like, it makes sense now. That was the missing piece. I think that it's very possible that this person wanted to manipulate me in that instance too, even if they weren't aware of it. Because it just doesn't add up. When someone leaves your life for no reason, there's always a reason. And if you don't know the reason, either it's that they can't talk to you about it, or that you're not self-reflecting enough, or that you're not telling the truth. And even if the reason was that, they were a coward, or it's like, do you even have clarity about that? Like, are you able to be confident in that? Are you able to connect with the reason why they left, if that happened to you? I hope that this is making sense. Yeah, let me collect my thoughts for a second. So I just needed to self-reflect for a little bit and make sure that I'm like grounded in this, because it's something that my body is not used to, which is like naming that certain things were covertly manipulative. Like but I'm doing that right now, and it just hit me with clarity. He was emotionally manipulating me to draw out my empathy for him, to get me to be his little lieutenant, to get me to be on his side, to get me to feel bad for him. And like, he is the victim, he's the one being mistreated. But I think what happened is that after all the years of me processing the abuse and the neglect and the pain that he put me through, and that echoed my childhood, I'm just here standing in my bedroom one random day, and I haven't even thought about him in God knows how long, and in a painful kind of way. And then it just downloaded, and I had the clarity, and I'm like, that was an emotionally manipulative moment that I didn't discern when it was happening. And that's why I'm making this video, based off the way that he treated me and our mutual friends. I can say for a fact that was manipulative. Because people don't just walk out of your life for no reason. Close friends don't stop being close friends for no reason. And if they don't want to tell you, again, I've said this so many times, but if they don't want to tell you, it's because they don't feel safe to do so, or they have told you, but you haven't freaking heard it. And as I'm saying this, I'm like, I'm an intuitive person. I'm an emotionally adept, intuitive person. If we're close, you don't need to tell me that you're uncomfortable for me to see it. You don't need to cry for me to finally consider your needs and ask you if you need a hug, or you need a blanket, or you need a ride somewhere. Like, you don't need to get overtly emotional in order to matter. And that's how I am. And a lot of people are drawn to my videos, and a lot of people who have been victims of narcissistic abuse and emotional manipulation are hyper empathetic. And so it's like, you have an easy time empathizing with the bad guy. And every time that they mistreat you, or they abuse you, or they do something that you might twist in your mind, or find some reason to think that, oh, they're just sad, so I'll let them have an excuse, or they haven't learned it yet, so I'll forgive it, and I'll keep holding off on claiming my stake in the ground as a queen who's worthy of being worshipped and treated 10 billion times better. Like, bare minimum is like, treat me like a queen. respect me. Come with reverence, or do not come at all if you want that level of presence from me, you know? And if you're a victim of abuse, you know, you've been trained to make excuses for these people. But you know what's fascinating? As I'm talking and naming the truth, this man told me this sob story to emotionally manipulate me and make me feel bad for him, without any self-reflection or accountability or awareness on his part as to what the fuck happened. Why did this friend walk away from you? You don't know why your best friend of a lifetime walked away from you out of the blue, and they didn't get sick and they didn't get kidnapped. God forbid, like, knock on wood. But unless something dramatic happened, then there's a reason. I'm sorry, but there's a reason. And as I'm naming this truth out loud, I can feel the somatic, aka the physical echoes of the trauma that caused me to remain complicit in that relationship with this boy. Calling him a boy and not a man for a reason. I feel the echoes of the abuse that I endured as a child, trying to fight my clarity and my knowing that he's manipulative. And that's why I'm making this video, because nervous systems grow and regulate when they have other nervous systems to anchor them. So when I make these videos, I'm giving you a template of my nervous system embodied in clarity, naming as many times as I need to, that was manipulative. That sob story that you told me was designed to get me to feel bad for you. Even if you can't consciously name that, that's exactly what happened, because I'm no fool and I see the patterns, and I see that you lack the ability to self-reflect. You treated me like shit. You violated me emotionally, psychologically when I was at my most physically and emotionally vulnerable. You violated my trust. You disrespected me publicly. You disrespected me in front of your family. And I'm not a fool. I'm not a fool to those things. So I'm going to name them clearly. And I'm here, Aaliyah. I'm here. My name is Aaliyah. And I'm standing here. Well, I'm sitting here. And I'm telling you this story and telling you this truth so that you can get power from me, from seeing someone else do it, so you can actually recognize and have like a path or a mirror or a doorway open for you where you go, oh, that's what it feels like to access clarity in the face of gaslighting, in the face of confusion. That's what my videos are for. That's what my coaching is for. That's what my sessions are for. I'm here to be an embodied nervous system who is clearly aligned, like in my center. And you can feel it. You can feel it in my voice, I'm sure. And when my voice shakes, or when my center does shake, it's almost like when you're standing in a windstorm. Just because you're standing in like 70-mile-an-hour winds doesn't mean that you are not fighting the winds or that you aren't strong. I don't know if that made sense, but it's like when you heal from emotional manipulation and you start to find clarity in the midst of that storm, that psychological storm, it is really similar to standing and leaning against 70-mile-an-hour winds. I don't know if you've ever stood on top of like an ocean cliff on the west coast of the United States and like leaned into those winds. Sometimes the winds just get so powerful, you know, like like gale force winds. Which I think a gale is considered like 55 or 50 miles an hour and above. But there's like names for the speeds or classifications of the wind speeds. But anyway, when you're standing in that storm, you can like anchor your feet on the ground and find that right balance so that you're still standing in the storm. But like when you're in life in situations where you find yourself in emotionally abusive or toxic situations over and over and over, that's like the equivalent of you wearing like a sugar glider outfit or like wings or a parachute, trying to withstand 70-mile-an-hour winds. And when you cut that parachute, you're gonna have to learn to stand on your own 2 feet, and you're gonna fall. But once you cut that parachute, that's like in the tarot, if any of you are into the tarot, it's like that Queen of Swords or King of Swords energy, like your intellectual, intuitive, clarity, your authority, your sovereignty within your clarity. It's like slicing through lies, slicing through illusions. And once you cut that parachute, your legs are going to wobble because they have been relying on the parachute to do all the heavy lifting for you. But that compromised your ability to be strong, to stand strong in the gale winds, against the storm winds. So you cut the parachute, aka you cut the illusions, aka you name my ex-boyfriend manipulated me when he told me this sob story. I want you to think about what it is in your life and name it. I'm saying it over and over because naming it gives my body the signal that I am clear, I am intuitive, I am aware of my reality, I am not being gaslit, I cannot be gaslit, I cannot be manipulated, and I am taking my power back, and I'm taking my sovereignty and my authority back, and this man who tried to hurt me cannot have my power, and he cannot take my power away with him when I'm trying to walk forward and find my perfect match, my husband, to build a family, to find the right community, to find the right home. If I took the trauma that he echoed in my life and he put on me with me into the future, I would recreate the same situations, and I would set up the right person for failure if I responded to them with the pain of the past. But I'm letting it go, and it's hard and it's painful. It is scary, and sometimes it's confusing. You see, my brain is like short-circuiting because I'm growing. I'm like physiologically, to tell the truth in a life where you were taught to avoid it, or you've internalized like a fight with the truth right inside of you. It's difficult to name it. So anyway, I really hope that this video gave you the courage to like stand on your own 2 feet and tell the truth. Okay, tell the truth. Don't lie to yourself. Stop lying to yourself. If you feel like confused or bogged down, like in general, or you feel like disempowered or just like downtrodden, like maybe it's because there's still emotional weight or residue of what other people have done to you or how they've treated you that's still playing out in your field and in your mind. And it's not actually a reflection of you or how bad you are, or something that you did wrong. It's a reflection of just the weight of what you've survived, what you've overcome. So, I really hope that this is going to just turn on the damn light bulb in whoever's head to make you realize that you can trust your clarity. No matter how many times you feel pulled away from it, every time you name the truth from your center, when you feel clear, this man emotionally manipulated me, this man emotionally abused me when he told me this sob story to try to get me on his side. The more that you repeat this narrative, the more you take back your clarity and you see the story like it is. And that when you cultivate that skill, when you're healing from the past, you are going to increase your discernment, and it's just going to skyrocket when you go into the future. And when you're opening your heart back to love, to connection, to intimacy, platonic or romantic or whatever, your discernment is going to be so rock solid that no bitches can get to you, can get to that sacred part of you that you gave away to everybody else because you didn't know better. It was not your fault. You didn't know better. But now that you have the awareness, now that you found this video, you have the discernment, you can cultivate it. And you're going to align with the people who do treat you like a queen or a king or royalty, because you know your worth. And it's not like to build this grandiose sense of self like in a narcissistic way, but like, yeah, you do deserve to be considered every day. You do deserve someone who's gonna do little things throughout the day to make you feel special. And you deserve someone who's receptive to your natural way of giving and loving as well. You deserve to share connections and bonds with other human beings who feel natural to love and share love with. And it's not about boosting your ego or making you feel more special than anyone else. It's about reclaiming your right and your sovereignty to safe, harmonious, emotionally nourishing fulfilling connections, okay? And so the last thing I'll say is, if you feel like you like my clarity and you want to work with me, you want my support, I am an intuitive and I offer one-on-one intuitive readings. And in 2026, I'm not sure when, I'm going to start a one-on-one mentorship program where you and I can literally walk together. I will hold your hand and I will be a mirror for you, and I will continue embodying my clarity and doing the hard, uncomfortable thing, and I will provide a reflection, I will provide a map, and I will provide a reflexive, dialectical processing space where you can open up and you can explore the map of your future and of your development and of your growth. You know, and I'm a survivor, like I said, of narcissistic abuse, and I have found so much clarity and strength through my own faith and through listening to my own intuition. And these are skills I've literally been cultivating my entire life. There's so much more to be said, but if you want to find out more about my work, please send me a message here on YouTube or on Instagram at Rustic Peach. We can set up a call, we can have a conversation, and I'm really here to meet you where you're at and find out if we can work together, and I'll tell you about what I offer. So just send me a message, and that's it. There's no pressure either. Stay tuned for more videos. If you like content like this, subscribe to my YouTube or follow me on Instagram at Rustic Peach, where I post short form reels and sometimes captions of, you know, stories like this. So there's more where this came from. But with that, excuse me, I will let you go, and I'll see you next time. Bye.